Hello and welcome to Touchdown Middle East 2024 in the heart of Bahrain. I am now joined by Jasmin, Senior Director of Business Development for Khazna Data Centers. And Greg, it's a pleasure seeing you again.
Same here, Joe.
12 months we were here. What has changed in the last 12 months in the Middle East in terms of data center development?
You know, it's the same that's been happening globally. It starts with an A, ends with an I. AI has been really the differentiator, the big factor driving demand here in the Gulf, and we're really starting to see the impact of that in the entire region.
And in terms of investment, what are the main opportunities for investors coming into this region?
So I think there's two tracks. There's a track for cloud deployment, digital transformation, which is still ongoing. And then there's a very niche opportunity to service AI workloads in this region, not just for the region, but for the world, right? Because of access to land, access to power, access to renewable power, all of this makes this part of the world a key market to service AI workloads.
I mean, one thing that we've established, especially this year, is that there is no lack of power, including renewable power and even nuclear power in the Middle East, which was something that I didn't know about until the guest prior to you. But there must be some sort of challenges as well in terms of developing the sector here to create a global powerhouse that you were just talking about. What would you say are the three main challenges that the region faces?
There are challenges everywhere. Speed to market, the ability to deliver within a certain time frame, because I think this opportunity for AI workloads is not going to last forever. And so if we can't deliver these projects within a reasonable time frame, then this opportunity could potentially go away. There's still a talent gap that exists here in the region, and that's why you see so many players from different parts of the world wanting to come here to kind of fill in this gap. We're recruiting from all over the world, as well as homegrown talent, but I think there's still a lack of talent that's needed here in the region. And then finally, look, the supply chain issues, although we think we're over the hump now in terms of the major supply chain issues we've had in the past few years, but I think that's still a little bit of challenge for us here in the region. And if we can get our house in order in all three of these sectors, I think this region will continue to grow and be a powerhouse in the world when it comes to data centers.
Okay. And speaking of powerhouse, one of the main key ingredients to building a data center is power. How can the region, and maybe more specifically the Gulf region, leverage the energy resources that exists on the ground at the moment?
You know, as we spoke about yesterday during our panel discussion, the good thing about this region, once a decision is made from the leadership down, we move very quickly. And I think that's the opportunity that exists. Once the leadership agrees and makes a decision and makes a push to build generating stations or substation, transmissions line, etc., that type of support from the government, a lot of the red tape goes away, and we're able to move very quickly. And I think that's a key to the success that you've seen in this region. When you travel around the various cities and you see the mega projects that have been accomplished in a relatively short period of time, it all goes to the leadership and the commitment that we can get from the leadership here in this part of the world.
Which is something that a lot of other regions globally have some envy on.
They have some issues on that point.
Yeah, and also the education of the people out there in terms of what data centers can deliver to the population. Do you think the perception of what data centers do is better in the Middle East compared to other global regions?
You know, for a long time, no one knew what was behind all of these applications applications they were using.
And the cloud was up there.
You know, the cloud is up there.
Yeah.
And I would always tell people that eventually the cloud, you need a physical place for it, and the data center is it. And I think now everyone is starting to have a better understanding to see the impact these data centers can have, not only on the immediate on population, but also long-term to the GDP of the country, etc. And I think that's becoming widely known now in the region.
Okay, and then let's talk about Khazna data centers. What is the plan? What's the idea? You dominate the market in the UAE, I think.
Yep.
So talk us through the UAE, and then we'll talk about expansion, but let's just talk about the current present portfolio, and then we'll go into the future.
If we look at our current portfolio, over 24 data centers, few more in construction, I think we'll be over 300 megawatts of capacity and growing. We recently announced a 100 megawatt campus, which will be the largest campus in our portfolio. And I think, Khazna is a perfect example of what the data center industry has been doing. For the first 10 years, Khazna was solely focused on the UAE market. And now we have a team within Khazna that's focused on our international growth, international expansion. And I am part of that team. And really, with our publicly announced projects in Kenya, Egypt, Turkey, Saudi, more to come. I think these are the opportunities that we see to bring our expertise, our know-how to these developing countries and help spur the same type of growth that we've seen in the UAE in these other markets.
On the ones you just said, more to come, where are you going? Talk us through that.
With our shareholding structure with G42, we're really looking globally. Where can we provide value? Where are governments or the private sector looking to benefit from the growth of AI, growth of cloud? I think for us is where we can bring value. We're into a lot of discussions, and I think in the near future we will have a few more announcements to be made.
Okay. Outside of the region?
Outside of the region.
Okay, we'll be here to watch them.
Excellent.
But one thing we were talking about yesterday is an AI grid connection, connecting the global south. Help me paint the picture here, help me build the question, and then answer the question as well. What is this AI grid that Khazna is working on, and how are you trying to connect this global south within the company?
It's a really interesting way of putting the growth of AI. The CEO of our the group CEO, Peng, talked about how power was developed over 100 years ago, but yet its distribution was not equitable. There are still places in Africa and others that don't have power. Well, we don't want the same thing to happen to AI. And so what we're talking about is, and what the group is talking about, is the deployment of AI almost like a utility, like a grid, a master plan of how you're deploying AI throughout the global south, where you could have things like a Swahili large learning model, or various languages, native languages. And with our expertise of our group, and Khazna is at the hub, is the core with our data centers, and then you have our sister companies, whether that's Core 42, Inception, etc., building the cloud and the large language models that's required to deploy sovereign AI and sovereign cloud throughout the global south. And so that's the vision for the group, and I'm happy to be part of the team that's delivering the core infrastructure needed for this AI grid that's being deployed across the global south.
And what would you say are the risks and rewards of going into emerging markets like this? Because we know investors like stability. They like things that can give returns very fast, or at least for the long term. And some of these markets, they're harder to break into for a reason. How would you navigate that? How do you play around some of the harder markets to get into?
Look, these markets are not easy. And if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But I think we have a clear goal, and we have worked with local partners as well to develop these markets, to understand how to deliver, because trying to deliver a data center in Kenya is very different than the UAE or in Europe. And so having that understanding, that local know-how is key for us. And so, look, we need patient capital. We need also a team that knows how to deliver in these markets. And that's what we are building, and that's what has helped us to be able to make a commitment to some of these hard markets and say, you know what, we want to be there, we made a commitment, and we're going to deliver that.
Okay. And then, Greg, so when we come back here in 12 months' time for Touchdown 2025, which I believe it will be in Bahrain, I've seen one of the brochures, it's written there, I think 10, 12 of November next year. What do you expect the region to have achieved to really propel the industry even further in 12 months' time?
I think in 12 months' time, you know, we were talking about how these 100 megawatt type projects are becoming the norm. I think we will see more of that. I think we will see also plans for even larger scale projects to take advantage of this opportunity that exists to service AI workloads. And I think it's an exciting time to be part of this ecosystem in this region. Look, we are definitely the largest player in this region, but we're not the only ones. And it's good to see the ecosystem is really growing, and everybody has that focus to deliver and to make sure that the entire Gulf region becomes a data center hub. And it's I'm proud to be part of this community.
I mean, one thing that we see about the figures, the projections for the market is 7 to 12 billion US dollars in terms of investments by 2029, 2030. I think that's very, very conservative.
I think so too. I think so too, because when you look at not only the data centers, but also all the other infrastructure, whether it's power, transmission, etc., that's needed, there's a lot more investments that's needed, and it's great to see that it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, just from being here, I think talking 100 billion plus, I think that's more of a correct estimate of what's to come in the next few years.
I would tend to agree as well.
But Greg Jasmin, Senior Director of Business Development for Khazna Data Centers, thanks so much for talking to me.
Thank you, Joe.
As for your home, thank you for watching, and do check our website and social media for more timely news from the digital infrastructure sector worldwide. At the Tech Capital, you lead, we report. Bye for now.